Hey everyone, it's TB Shores. I'm back again to continue with this on Shavuot or Shavuot. People say it different ways. Shavuot, I think, is the proper pronunciation. It's still May 31st, 2017. It's 11:54 p.m. Okay, in the last video we discussed how what the Lord had given me back in May of 2013 actually ends up meaning Jesus and his disciples have until Shavuot. So the next thing that we want to discuss, and let me see if I can get my train of thought focused back. There's just so much to talk about. The Lord has been pointing me here. I've been into this for, well, ever since he gave me that word over by a period of May 22nd, which we know was pointing us to a time frame that was connected to May 22nd, and that's where we are now. That's how we got to Shavuot, because it always falls in May and June. And the Lord had taken us to Gemini, which is all about the time frame, a time frame of May and June. Okay. Now, we talked about, let's see, this. Now, let me see what else I want to go to. Oh, yes, we want to go to this right here. The Lord had also, well, if it's going to come up for me, he had also, in May of 2015, I believe was the date that popped up on this. I'm just going to pause that one. I'm going to listen to this. Let's see. Yes, this was published May 10th, 2015. I don't remember the exact day that it happened, but it was very close to that, I'm sure. Okay, here, the title of this is The Last Seven. And to keep a long story short, I mean, you can go back and watch this video, but I'm just trying to make a long story short. But this was about the Lord showing me the last seven, arriving home at the last seven. And it was very puzzling to me. There were a lot of things going through my mind at that point in time. But what's important is what he's pointing to now and giving understanding to now. And if we go back to, let me find that page we were on, this one, we see that it says the word Shavuot means weeks. So we establish that because we understand that weeks is about Shavuot, word weeks. We understand that's what led us to come to the conclusion that Jesus and his disciples have until Shavuot, where he had spoke until or to me about the weeks. But it goes on to say it marks the completion of the seven. And see, he gave me also these sevens that I just showed you. The completion of the 7 weeks counting period between Passover and Shavuot. So the Lord had also shown me that. So I'm going to pop over there. And it was about the last seven. Well, if we look at the counting of the Omer, we know that it is a counting of 7 days for 7 weeks, which is 7 sevens. It was the last 7 in which I arrived at home. And we also know, that Shavuot marks the completion of the 7-week counting period. So it's the last 7. Shavuot falls at the last 7, okay? So that's twice the Lord had shown me Shavuot, but I did not understand it. All right, I'm trying to think where to take this next. I'm going to pause this just a minute, and I'll be right back. Okay, I was just looking at my notes here, trying to decide where to take this from here. But I want to recap just a bit. We know that what the Lord spoke to me over by a period of May 22nd, he pointed us to a time frame that was connected to May 22nd. which led us to Gemini, which led us to understand that Shavuot is always in a May-June time frame, and that's what the Lord was trying to get me to understand. Now, like I said before, Gemini could take us into a whole different series of videos just discussing what it itself symbolically represents spiritually, but we're not going there right now. We're talking about Shavuot. Okay, so we know the Lord pointed us to the time frame that contains Shavuot, the May and June time frame. We know that the Lord spoke to me, and I come to understand that Jesus and his disciples have until Shavuot. And he also showed me the last 7, which is when Shavuot comes, after the counting of the 7 sevens, the 7 weeks. Shavuot comes at that last 7, okay? That brings me to trying to explain a couple of things that some friends had said to me. Now I'm going to discuss something that my friend Lou had. I can't remember when she had the dream, but it's been a while. And we've discussed it on many occasions. But in the dream, the Lord had told her that he would meet her in the middle. The phrase just stuck in my head. He would meet her in the middle. So when I was doing my homework, I come to understand, let's see if you can see my notes here. I came to understand that there are 3 pilgrimage feasts, which are Passover, right here, Shavuot, and Sukkot. And I wrote them down. And as I wrote them down, it hit me like a ton of bricks that Shavuot was in the middle. And instantly, Lou's phrase that the Lord had spoke to her came rushing into my mind, where he had told her that he would meet her in the middle. Now, these are the 3 main feasts, okay? And Shavuot is right in the middle. So there is, to me, that is another confirmation. And then another friend of mine, sister in the Lord, Barb, y'all know her as Pike LK 278, I believe. That's how it's written. She had called me. I'm trying to think. I think it was the morning of the 30th, May the 30th. I've got it right there, and there's her dream. And she had told me about her dream, but we're going to focus on what was spoke to her. And she said that she saw the Lord, and it was like he was in the flames. It wasn't hurting him by no means, but she sent me a picture, but we're not going to get into all that. It was awesome. But anyway, the main thing was the phrase that he spoke to her, which is it reminded me of what he had told me over by a period of May 22nd. This is what he said to her. And this was yesterday morning. She called and told me this. And he had told her in the dream, it will all be over by June the 2nd. Okay, having said that, we need to understand that Shavuot, I'm trying to find, I have a calendar pulled up. Here it is. Okay, this is the May calendar, and I'm going to scroll down here to get to the bottom. Oh, a little too far. Remember, this was May. Okay, May 31st. And then we have June the 1st. Okay, we just clicked in just past midnight, so we're in June the 1st now. So, June the 2nd is the day after. Now, we need to understand that him having spoke to her, it will all be over by June the 2nd. Doesn't mean right here on the calendar it's going to all be over. What he was doing, because I had specifically prayed and asked for a confirmation of what I was understanding about Sukkot. And she called the next morning and gave me the Sukkot again, pointing to Sukkot again. And how does this point to Sukkot? Because it says, he told her, let's see if I can get this over here. It will all be over by June the 2nd. Okay, by June the 2nd means a time leading up to June the 2nd. Not June the 2nd, but time leading up to June the 2nd. And when did she call? She called because she had the dream here. So she had it on the 30th, and he's telling her it'll all be over by June the 2nd. Then we're talking about a time frame that falls between the 30th and the 2nd, which is Shavuot exactly. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so the Lord was pointing us back to Shavuot. It'll all be over by June the 2nd. Not on June the 2nd, but by. So on the 30th, he said it'll all be over by June the 2nd. So that leads us into Shavuot by June the 2nd. Okay, what the Lord is showing me